Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and thank you for joining me tonight on this evening, which is in review this Thursday, 30th of June, 2022. And just invite Mr. Gary Graham. How are you doing, sir?
Well, it's great again to be on the Seymour CDL show.
Yes.
I must be doing right. You keep bringing me back every Thursday night.
I keep you don't know what happened. Is it like Groundhog Day or something like that? Where you keep finding yourself keep coming back every Thursday night.
I think so. I think that may be the problem. If we can find a solution to stop the Groundhog Day, then
Well,
you're
well, well,
probably right.
when you got a good thing going, you got to just keep it going, As the song
Right.
says, good thing going, you know what I mean? You just keep it going,
Yeah, yeah. It's a good
I,
thing you can see.
yeah, I tell you what, I was thinking today, welcome to persons on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and Facebook. Welcome. And thank you for joining, ladies and gentlemen. And feel free to be a part of the conversation. We're just here being facilitators, and Claudia Chadley Simpson and on Instagram. Thank you so much, Gary. I was thinking today, that each week it's like I don't know. There's always new things happening, and if you're not careful, you will jump onto new things and don't keep abreast of the old things to follow things through. So you can find yourself operating like on an autopilot,
Yes.
you know. And if we're
Yes.
not careful, we'll find ourselves being taken by the media. And
Yes.
and then at the same time, I remind myself now that Sylbourne, you are now part of the media. you know and so that is something, but what's your take on that particular point? Oh, sorry, it's not Saturday night, but I feel like making a juice tonight, you know what I mean? This is a special juice with some
Well,
lemon and
you should have you should have at least prepped me, man. I would have gonna get me my bottle.
get it where you would get
I was gonna get my bottle, man.
bottle of what, Gary?
All right, just take me off screen for a while, then and I'll come back with something.
I'll take you off screen. Gary's going to get his bottle. Kid Mac production, Keva, Jacqueline, what are you guys having for drinking? It's not talk and sip tonight, but it's always good to have a drink. I had a spell of the symptoms of COVID over the past week, last week, and I did that test with the thing that they give you, and it had the double line. And today I tested it again, and it had the single line. So I'm supposed to be out of the clear. But it is good though that one can actually go through these bouts of ailment, if what do we call it, COVID or flu, and by the grace of God, able to keep your faculty, not able to have to be hospitalized, um, and things like that. So so that is good. God is God's grace. But one of the things that I try to do a lot, ladies and gentlemen, is to drink a lot of water. What I try to do a lot is to exercise, get outside. As you see, I do my walk every day. Even if I miss the walk in the morning, I get the walk in the afternoon. Today, I went to my daughter's sports day and walked my way back, half during the course of the day. So, got to do exercise. Gary, are you ready? Just give me a thumbs up if I can see you. You know, you ready? Your thumbs up? Thumbs up. Okay. So Gary's got his drink now.
Yeah, man. I've got my super malt.
You got his Super Bowl.
Right, got my super malt.
you know, Gary, I was watching Question Time today, last week, yesterday, Thursday. I got a brief. I watched it after. And today's Thursday. I watched it yesterday. And I thought to myself, actually, I believe I know the Labour Party would do well with as a leader. And then I saw for the Conservative who I believe the potential leader of the Conservative Party could be. But with the Labour Party, I believe I saw the leader. I think she's a genius. I think she's a lady, man. You know, So I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it, and I'm gonna watch it. We're gonna dissect it a bit. Let's hope they don't do anything to the video. Let me see if I can find it, and I'll share the screen. Yeah, share the screen.
Says there's a gaping hole in Labour's policy.
You can't see it yet, no?
And all the while,
no.
There's a smile creeping over her face. All the while, she's reveling in it. We're getting on with serving the people of this country.
Okay.
She's just playing political games.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'd revel in the opportunity for the people of this country to have more than just by-elections to see what they think of this government opposite. Call a general election where the people are, Mr. Speaker. And this is a man who once said high levels of government taxation was hurting UK competitiveness. Now he's back the Prime Minister who wants to put taxes up 15 times. At this rate, Mr. Speaker, working people will be paying £500 billion more in tax by 2030. Yeah. How high does he think the burden on working people should get before he says enough is enough?
Deputy Prime Minister.
We're the ones helping working people with a tax cut. With a tax cut of £330, with the support for those on the lowest incomes, with the £650 support for 8 million on the lowest incomes, and with, frankly, the record level of investment coming into this country, from the £1 billion by Moderna for vaccines to the highest level tech investment in Europe, according to Atomico. We are the ones with a plan for low unemployment, a high wage, a high skill economy. At Labour, it's back to year zero.
Angela Rayner.
Mr. Speaker, if he tends to emphasise with those struggling with the Tory cost of living crisis, when it was he himself who once said that food bank users are not in poverty but simply have a cash flow problem. The honourable member doesn't. He spent over £1 million in 9 months on private jets. It shows how out of touch this government is, Mr. Speaker. But at this rate, by 2030, 1 million more people will be using food banks. How many more working people will be pushed into poverty by his Prime Minister before he says enough is enough?
Gary, what you thinking on that lady?
Well, she sounds as if she's got a bit of bite to her. I think, she could be very promising. She sounds promising. She does sound. She's got
Whenever
something.
you're shopping online, you should never be paying full price.
Sorry, let me just stop this thing here.
But now with Pouch, there's an even easier way to save money.
Stop it.
I tell you,
Sorry, Gary. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, she
Sorry.
does sound that she does have a bit of bite to her. Dominic Raab, I've always thought that probably he could be the next leader of the Conservative Party. The only thing that was really that had kind of shaken his squeaky clean image was when he was on holiday, I think it was.
During that crisis there with Afghanistan.
Yeah, during that crisis there. But apart from that, I think Dominic Raab, he just may be the one to take over from Boris Johnson.
Was it like a picture, a vision of what is to come? Because I tell you what I liked about her. She reminded me of a Margaret Thatcher, who went in with the rough edges at the same time, but something that she had, and she's coming across like she has conviction. That's the thing with Angela Rayner. She's coming across with conviction.
Yeah, I think, you see, anybody that really makes any headway in anything at all, from my little brief stint of living in this world, anybody that has a passion in doing what they're doing, they more often than not do become very good at what they do. It's when the problem is or comes when there isn't anything there really to push you and to cause you wanting to become better.
Yeah.
And as you said, and as you rightly said, you know, she may have been like a Maggie Thatcher Winsley. As she progressed, she became better and better at what she did. And she was rough at the beginning, but she was more really as time went on. And that is what needs to be done and seen in individuals. Because if you come in thinking that you know it and thinking that you're good at it and thinking again that there's no need for you to change in anything at all, then that's when the problem comes.
Let's just watch a bit more before we just move on from this here, if I can say.
People, they should be clear standing up against these militant,
reckless strikes by RMT. The right honourable lady flip-flopped. The honourable lady has flip-flopped all over the place when it came to these strikes. First she said they were lose-lose. Then she tweeted workers that were left with no choice. When she was asked by the BBC, straight question, she's normally a straight-shooting politician, do you like RMT? She said, I'm going to have to go now. I've got a train to catch. She talks about working people. She talks about working people. Where was the right honourable lady when the comrades were on the picket line last Thursday? Where was she when the Labour front bench were joining them rather than standing up for the public? She was at the Glyndebourne Music Festival, sipping champagne, listening to opera. Champagne socialism is back in the Labour Party.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that says a lot about the party opposite. I'll tell them a few things about militancy. It's this government that are acting in a militant way. And while they should have been at the negotiating table, they were at the banqueting table getting hundreds of thousands squeezed out of their donors instead of dealing with the crisis. And he talks about trains. No one can get trains because of his failed transport minister, Mr. Speaker. And I tell you, he has a stronger stomach than his...
I think we'll just have a little quiet. I want to hear the question, and you'll also want to hear the answer. Angela Rayner.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think it's rather ironic that you have to intervene because of the baying mob here when they've got people through their noisy protest laws being stopped for protesting out on the street. The thing is, Mr. Speaker, they don't like it when the public say what they think of them. But I tell you, the honourable gentleman opposite has a stronger stomach than his colleagues behind him.
Honestly, I want to hear the question, I want to hear the answer. And I hate to say it, so do your constituents. Think about them for once instead of yourselves. Angela Rayner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And when they were asked about the absent Prime Minister's plans to stick around until 2030, one honourable member opposite said he'd lost the plot. Another one said anyone with half a brain would realise how dire things are. Yeah. And a former Conservative leader said that the country would be better off under new leadership. Yeah. And now the Prime Minister is at war with his own Defence Secretary after confirming he will break his manifesto pledge and increasing defence spending. Under this government, Britain is set to have less troops, less planes and less ships. The only thing the Prime Minister's interested in is defending his own job. Just how many more troops have to lose their jobs before he finally says enough is enough?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In fact, there's a £24 billion increase for armed forces. Spending on the armed forces is rising to 2.3% of GDP, again making us the largest military spender in Europe. And frankly, we'll take no lessons from the Right Honourable Lady when it comes to security in this country. First thing she did when she became an MP, 2016, voted against Trident, leaving us exposed. And she was campaigning
North to be Prime Minister, someone who would take us out of NATO.
Gary, what's your What's your take? Listening to her, I think she brings sex back into politics. Actually, that's a figurative way of speaking. I mean, she bring. I mean, Starmer is just boring. You know what I mean? She makes it exciting.
Yes, I mean Starman. I mean he's been a long time in politics, yes, but
Yeah,
his character, his demeanor is not one. Is not fighting, if you know what I mean. He's not like a
yeah.
Neil Kinnock. He's not like
Tony
a,
Blair.
a Tony Blair. No,
Mm.
um, he's not like um Dennis. What's his name? He was up in the north end. He was very um he hasn't got that bite. He hasn't
Yeah.
got that bite. He knows what he's talking about. There's not it's not a slur against him as an individual. But I don't think when he did come in, he took it over at a very very low time, and I think he's tried to bring Labour back up to where it needs to be.
Mm.
But as a leader, I don't think that really he has that character to to really fill the
Well,
gap that the Labour Party needs.
I tell my good. Pity I never had my good Labour friend from Birmingham there, Adam. Today, I would say, Adam, listen, take my cue. From a conservative, bring Angela Rayner in, and the Tories will have a hard time. and
Uh,
and somehow try to get rid of Starmer, but at the same time, be careful of Rob, because Rob could be a dark horse there coming through at the same time.
yes. I think he's. I think there are signs there coming to the fore to show that he could really do some damage in the Commons there.
Yes, yes, But anyway, on to another note, I don't know. I don't think I talked about this, but I don't have an image of it because there can be no image of this. But there are 4 children and a mother who got killed in Jamaica last week. 4 children, 3 girls, a little boy, and the mother got killed. And they believe that they find a gentleman is held at present charge for the killing. Apparently, he's a family member. And it reminded me, Gary, of the 4 adults who got killed recently, also in Bermondsey, in London, Jamaicans. And then there were 3 Jamaicans being killed in Queens this week as well. You know, and I'm trying to say what is going on is like there's this evilness. Years ago, they would say if you can't catch Quacker, you catch him shut. It's a Jamaican saying. You can't catch Quacker, you catch him shut. But it's like them catching Quacker and the shut and everything at the same time. The evil that permeates within a human being is that mental health, or that if that's the case, everything is mental health.
Well, we have to be careful again, isn't it?
Yes.
We're not like uh, I can't comment anything. I couldn't comment anything on law because I'm not a lawyer. You could because you're a lawyer. Um, we can't comment too much on mental health because we're not mental health practitioners. But what
Yes.
we could say, and what I could probably say here, if I put on my coat, as one being a minister of the faith,
Yes.
I could probably say that the problems that we are having to face, just as how Christ came and healed the demonic, the one who was son was overcome with demons, and the father took him to Jesus, and the father told Jesus that he cast him on the rocks, he goes into the fire, and he's doing all sorts of things to himself to harm himself. Now, when Jesus looked at that, Jesus saw it differently, didn't he? Because Jesus could have just said, "Oh, it's mental health problems," but Jesus healed the young man. Now, there's a lot of things that's happening in our world today that, yes, as I said some programs before, and I do repeat it as as and when it's necessary, that the doctors, the consultants, the mental health practitioners and such, they have studied many years. They know the medications that they need in order to help the individuals that are in these difficult situations. And I will never ever decry what the doctors are doing. Why again? Because God has given us doctors to help us. So if we destroy the work of the doctors, then we are then destroying the very field to help us. But on the other hand, still, I have to always also have to bear in mind that a lot of the mental health issues that we are having to tackle, and which the hospitals and the consultants or doctors are having to tackle, it's these things cometh not out but by prayer and fasting. Now the doctors and the consultants who are not Christian, maybe some are, and that's fine. But if we don't understand that, and if we don't have the those that are able really to help in these, then we're going to be overrun with a lot of demons, which of course we are now claiming to be mental health. But you've mentioned four sets of individual families. Now we don't know, probably, and I would gather they are not connected at all, because what you and I certainly know, Sil, is that a lot of the killings, or quite a few of the killings that happened in Jamaica in certain areas, are reprisals. In that, I can't get your daughter, or I can't get your mother, I'm going to kill your daughter, your mother, or I can't get that boy. So if I can't get your son, I'm going to kill your mother. That seems to be going on, and we don't know if these families are connected. Not to say that they are. No, I'm not saying that they are connected, but it's quite a coincidence that you have noticed and you've highlighted that here in the UK, in the United States, in Jamaica, that there are families of four that have been attacked and killed.
Yeah,
like that.
So one cannot even say it is in Jamaica only. It's in the USA only. It's in the UK only. But it is something which is prevalent. But then again, what compounds it again, Gary, is another article which is out there, and it's about this killing of this little boy.
You mean the one that was killed?
Logan.
Logan.
Yeah, Logan
That's
Wangi.
sad in and of itself. Yeah, that is
Logan
sad in and of itself.
That's a very sad case. A mother, a stepfather, and a teenager being given life sentences for murdering 5-year-old Logan Wangi and dumping his body in a river. Can you imagine that? Body was found in River Ogmore near his home in Sylbourne Garry County. I don't know where that is. Cardiff. Yes, in Wales.
Yeah, Bridgend County. Yeah.
The whole thing is like, even in there where I live, there was something posted on Nextdoor about someone who was running down this little girl, and the girl was running, and there's a couple who actually saw what was happening and tried to protect the girl. Apparently, this man was trying to run her down, trying to kidnap her. Right? It turned, and then when they saw him, they took a picture of him, and he went to the bus stop holding his head down. And the funny thing about it is that the parents were actually training the girl how to go out by herself when she started going to high school, junior school in September. So you see, children, unfortunately, young people, unfortunately, is growing up, Gary, in a different type of world. It's a different type of world that they are growing up in now, where parents have to be so totally overprotective as much as possible, and that
Yes.
cannot be good. You know?
I mean, when I remember, I remember growing up, going to school, both here and in Jamaica, and our parents would tell us, "Don't, don't get into the cars. Don't get into cars with strangers.
Yes.
Don't accept sweets or money from strangers."
Mm.
And we would listen to them. And yes, little children then and children were being abducted, but not at the rate in which we're seeing today.
Right.
You know, that children are being killed, children are being kidnapped, children are disappearing. You know, it's really at a
Crisis proportion.
yeah, it is, and I think, and I really believe, you know, to some extent that I will not discount that people are not going back to the conversation before.
Yeah.
People do have mental illnesses. People are touched and are bothered with these things. But we've
Mm.
got to remember, Sil, and you've got Christian listeners out there, and you've got people who are not Christian. So we've got to really be able to cater for both. But at the same time, I would really like to say that um, we are fighting a spiritual battle here. It
Yeah.
is in blood. We do not fight flesh and blood, and the reasons why we now seem to be doing what we're doing is because we are attacking flesh, and it is not flesh. Because when you incarcerate an individual for doing what they're doing, then why then, when we take an individual out of the general population per se, incarcerate them,
Yeah.
but yet it seems to
Mm.
be happening even more on the outside. So it's not so much. So if you put everybody inside, just for argument's sake, if you put everybody inside, then the problem is going to go inside because everybody's inside. But if you
All right.
put one at a time inside, you've got people on the outside that's going to respond to whatever is there. Because when you see the pictures
Mm.
of who they're saying are the perpetrators, sometimes either they're stabbing each other, they're shooting each other, they're robbing people, they're mugging people, they're doing what they're doing there. When you look at them, their physical attributes does not match up to the crime in which they're committing.
It
Because
doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
it,
They don't fit the profile if any certain if that's
exactly,
right. Right.
exactly, Sylbourne. And if we look at that, we've got to say, hold on, something's wrong here. Because that little boy there, yes, it's horrible, it's terrible, and we demonize the individual. But look at the individual for who he or she is. Could she or he physically do what they did just on the off? No. There is something behind the individual, pushing the individual to do what they did.
It is like the killing of the 4 children in Jamaica and the mother. Apparently, they held a cousin, a family member. And when you see the guy, you wouldn't think that he's a person. Of course, I would say the word alleged at this time, even though the
Right.
government, even though the lawyers now are actually putting on notice for the death penalty for him. Now, that's a far call, but I guess what they're doing is responding to public demand for some level of retributory action, some sort of, what should I say, deterrent that can deter others from doing it. But when you look at it, for someone, Gary, to move from one child to another child, stabbing them, close proximity, that's close. It's not like a gun. Okay, if somebody have a gun and go, "Rrr," there's a separation a bit like, but knife. And apparently, I'm getting to understand, and it might sound a bit gruesome, that the children are running. It's the person going after them. You know, you have to ask yourself the question: how can taxpayers know that after this person is guilty, that they are paying to keep this person alive and feeding him? You know, it's a hard cry, but and Betty and Blaine, who is the lady for the Hear the Children Cry in Jamaica, a good friend of mine, she's talking about that things have reached to a point now that there's no heartfelt protection like for children. There have been cases of children just being killed, just like that. Not just in Jamaica.
No.
I mean, in America, you're seeing the killing of the children. You know, they said in Texas recently, there's no way they could have recognized some of those children, save for DNA samples or their clothes that they were wearing or whatever, because the gun blew them up. That's what they. So with what is happening in the world now, with even the Roe against Wade, where you have people who are actually just championing and wanting the cause to kill, you know, there's justification, you know. You just have to wonder what is eating into man so much, whereby they have become so evil.
It is evil. It is evil, Sylbourne. And I don't think any proper thinking human being could ever condone or agree or feel at ease with the atrocities that is happening in the United States, and for us, because we are Jamaicans in Jamaica. Nobody could ever. But the thing about it, my brother and friend, and I would like to at least say I'm not a prophet, and I don't claim to be one. I don't claim to be one. I'm just like Sylbourne, my host there, and just like you, whoever is listening. But it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And I'm not saying it because I want to say it. I'm saying it because the Bible says so. It's declared that to get ready, for things really to just get hot. Jesus said it, that it's the beginning of sorrows. Now, if this is the beginning of sorrows, because I don't know where we are along the timeline, I can't say. But if what is happening now is the beginning, and if you don't believe, if nobody out there in the ether doesn't believe that we're at the beginning of anything, but it's happening, but this is happening, then when the beginning begins, Sylbourne, what is it going to be like? Never mind the middle. So do we want? And I'm not here to preach and to give an altar call, but but do we really want to stay in this world? Do we really want to be a part of what is happening down here? Because I certainly don't want to.
I saw an image, and I don't want to bring the image up, and I saw an image of a man in a pink sort of ballet sort of outfit, a big strapped black man in this pink bag, and his little daughter, about 1 or 2 years of age, in this pink ballet thing, saying he's trying to empathize or trying to feel, you know, when I said, you know, be attuned to her. And I look at it and I say again, man, this world is what, man, whereby men now think that they got to dress like women to reach out to their children, their daughters, when at the same time the daughter, deep down, is wanting a strong father, a man that they can look up to. I don't want to get into it because, you know, you have all these different groups that get excited about these things, you know. But things are so whack, you know. It is like one has got to, what should I say, maintain your position and stay in your lane. And put it this way, I think this is it. Do what you believe in with respect, and purpose, and just carry on till thy kingdom come, and don't follow nobody. You know, and as Keir Starmer recently said, he didn't know, he couldn't distinguish between woman and male or something like that. And I think somebody else said this is the way it should be. And I just sent a message to him and said, go and talk back to your mother. You know, because your mother, and then ask your mother who you are. The thing about it is that the elder folks now that is supposed to be the elders, our parents or so, it's like we're gonna look. It's like we're looking them in their face and say, "What you're saying we're wrong," because the world has changed now. But God hasn't changed, Gary.
No.
God is the same, isn't it?
God hasn't changed, and what He has said in the past has not changed either. You know, wrong is wrong, right is right, and what He has set in place, you know, will forever happen. If he's well, I don't want to really say much more because you might get myself in trouble with some of your listeners, really. You know, but it's going to get worse. But you see, we need to be aware that some of the things that our experts and those that have studied whatever field that may be, and I take my hat off to all the doctors, to all the scientists, to all the financiers and such, that they've studied their field and they know what they're talking about. So that's fine. I can't rubbish anything that I don't know anything about. But what I will say to the general population and to everyone is that what is happening in our world today is meant to happen, and it's only that the end of time is coming to an end. Time is coming to an end, and as time draws closer to the end, then things must get worse. The demonic activity of the spiritual world is going to be is ramping up. It's they know they just have but a short time, and they are there to destroy. They're there to destroy, not to build. So we just have to be careful for ourselves. We have to be careful for ourselves, really, and be very mindful of where we are, and that we just have a very small, as individuals, we just have a very small part to play in this world and on the world stage. So do what you can the best way possible and in righteousness.
Yes, yes. You know, on another note now, where everybody's talking about the high cost of living. Actually, very country is giving so much money to Ukraine. I don't know if you've been seeing that. UK spending to rise as danger increases. Prime Minister, danger is increasing. UK will increase its defending spending to 2.5 of GDP by the end of this decade. Yeah. NATO members discuss the response to Russian aggression. The Prime Minister said the cost of freedom is always worth paying. Gary.
Yeah. Well, you see, Sylbourne, again, and everybody out there that's listening to this, and it's going, and this I'm sure is going to be on the internet for quite a few years to come, if the Lord tarries. But you see, the thing about it is this: that government, it's quite it's I don't even know what term to use or what word to use here, but it's quite strange how the government can find billions, 2.5% of GDP, to send arms to a country that let's say we don't have anything to do with. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't get involved, but yet we can't find that 2.5% of the GDP to feed the homeless. or to put the homeless in shelters, or to close, you know, to again the Grenfell Tower, and that what needs to be done there for either the government to properly clad the existing stock of high rises. Can't find the money for that. No, we can't. But yet,
Well,
we
yeah.
can send billions to Ukraine to fight Putin.
Well, one of the things is that what weapons are being given to Ukraine by the UK. The UK is providing an additional 1 billion, 1.2 billion in military aid to Ukraine. New funding take the full world package of military support given to Ukraine, 2.3 billion, Gary, so far. Long-range rockets. Government said that Ukraine troops will be trained on to use it. Multiple launch anti-tank weapons. These are stuff that, Gary, is that serious money, man? Look at that. This is big business, as my friend O'Neill would say. Follow the money, Sylbourne. Follow the money. This is big money business. This is big money, Gary. This is big money, right? And when I think about it, and they keep saying that they cannot actually increase the wages of doctors. They cannot increase the wages of certain persons because guess what? If you do that, it will create inflation. And somebody said, stop that foolishness. Inflation has gone up and you still have not increased anybody's stuff.
I mean, I mean, it's just, it's, I don't understand. I can't understand it, Phil. I can't understand. I don't understand. I can't. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling that we can spend, the government can find billions. There's no problem. Within seconds, they can write off 1.2 billion pounds worth, 1.5 billion pounds, 500,000 pounds for one weapon system. And when certain sections of the community cries out for help,
yes,
can't find it. It's not there. It's not there still.
I guess one cannot blame Portia Simpson Miller, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, once when they said to her, "Where did you get the money from?" She said she found money.
Yeah.
You know, governments always find money for the things that they want to do, which they're committed to. And with what is happening now, and Biden blames Russia. Russia is a problem. Russia is a problem. And as for the UK, with the high cost of living, I mean, I've got car owner virus. Have you got that car owner virus? Have you got that, Gary?
Yeah, I think so.
You know what is car owner virus?
Is that no? But tell me now.
Car owner virus is when you go to the petrol station and you're putting in petrol and you see the meter just going up and you realize that nothing is going in and your money. So they call it car owner's virus.
Okay.
Car owner virus.
Okay.
You know.
I mean, I went to the petrol today, and I put £40 in. Now, at one point, I put diesel in. It was diesel I put in, and I remember when we put in fuel in of that amount, and it would be half a tank. It would be probably a little bit over half a tank. No, it didn't even reach half. It's just diabolical, man. It's diabolical.
Well, the good thing is that if you're a walker, you don't have to you can just walk, man. That's the whole thing, walk on the virus, the walk the virus.
I think that's what the government wants everyone to do.
But that won't help them because they won't be able to get all the taxes from the oil, And another thing also which came up in the news is Lewis Hamilton and the whole racism. He said all the voices should be refused platform to make offensive comment. And this is after Nelson Pickett made a racist remark about him and following provocative remarks from Bernie Eccleston. See, these guys are from the old school in the Gary. These guys, you know, there's a dying breed which is going out. There's a dying breed, and how do you deal with these persons? There's a guy who's 101 years of age, a Jewish guy that they found recently was part of the whole Jewish thing, and they caught him recently. These guys are not going to change their minds. They're not going to change their whole thinking. What would you say? What would you say about these gentlemen? That what Lewis Hamilton is talking about.
Well, obviously, you see, some people, you won't get everybody thinking. Obviously, they have their own thoughts, and you for I think it was PK. He was a Brazilian, not Bernie Eccleston, but the guy that Lewis Hamilton also is referring to is about what he was a Brazilian F1 driver some years back, and he won the championship 3 times, I believe. Now, obviously, he I don't think he thought very much of Lewis and the way how he drives. Eccleston to say what he says, then obviously he's in support of Putin, isn't it? I think that's what he's saying here.
He said he'd take a bullet for Putin.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay, fine. He wants to do that. That's his leaning, isn't it? That's what he thinks. That's what he thinks. It doesn't really matter what anybody else is saying. You know, we all can't and we all will not think the same way. So let him think what he wants. And I think that allow people, because that's how we know where people are. You know, if somebody answers me a question on various things and I say I don't have anything to say, then you're going to think, well, is either Gary's dumb or he's stupid or he hasn't got any understanding on anything. So you would not ask me of anything. However, if you ask me on various questions on various things, and I give my answers, it is by the answers that I give that you will then form an opinion of me. On certain things, I may agree with you. On certain things, I may not agree with you. But then you're then able to make an assumption of who Gary Graham is and what his thinking is on particular subject matters. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I think is wrong with society to some extent is that we have been, if I can use the word brainwashed, we may be brainwashed to the extent that we want everybody to think the way how we think. And that is not possible. That is not possible. And because they don't think how we think, we then either ostracize them, think them as fools, you know, put them on a little island by themselves, as they say, send them to Coventry, they stay down there and you stay up here. Which of course that doesn't make the world go around, isn't it? We're not tolerant of anything, of anybody. And I believe that we should be able to share our thoughts, to share what we believe. That's what Gary Graham thinks. Okay, fine. I know how he ticks now. But when people are afraid to air their views, because once they air their views, then people think either that they're a fuddy-duddy, or they're stupid, or that they don't have any sense. And I think that people should be allowed to express themselves. That is why I've said in times past, you know, Sil, even though we say we live in a free world, or we are living in a free society, or we are free to do whatever we can do within reason, we're not really free. We can't really say what we want. We can't do what we want.
Yeah, we are curtailed or restrained in actually speaking what we want to speak. I think that can be qualified. That can be qualified whereby you can speak what you want to speak, you can say what you want to say, but there are repercussions. Mean to say that you might not have the same platform again where you could speak on. Even President Trump realized that as well. That while they have freedom of expression, yes, you do have it, but where can you speak it? Now, I'll see if freedom of expression exists because I'm gonna show a video now of something which was being distasteful being shown and is not being shown too much, and it is about uh, some Moroccans in Morocco in Africa. I don't know. I don't know the full story about it, but it's a very disturbing picture of um, fellow Africans trying to reach to Europe, and in the process of it, they die. You know, or you know, I let you see the video there just for a moment. You know. I just showed that video there, just briefly, Gary.
They're dead.
I, well, apparently some of them have died, according to what I understand. Um, the, the person said, "What is happening in Morocco? Why are they killing immigrants? Why are they killing immigrants instead of deporting them to their countries? African leaders are looking to their innocent people. Moroccan police is moving on dead bodies like God watch on our people who are suffering on this." And there's more which I don't want to show. More than 30 Africans seeking to cross into Spain were killed, and scores of migrants and police were injured in what Moroccan authorities call a stampede of people surging across Morocco's border fence with Spanish North African enclave of Melilla on Friday. A total of 113 migrants breached the border between the Moroccan city of Nador and Melilla on Friday. A spokesperson for the Spanish government office in Melilla said about 2,000 people attempted to cross, but many were stopped by Spanish civil guard police and Moroccan forces on either side. My thing with this, Gary, and it is very saddening, you know, is in today 2022 we have a situation whereby we have African brothers leaving the continent, yep, to come to Europe for a better life. Many years ago, during the transatlantic slavery movement, we were forcefully moved, taken away in prisons, in chains, and whatever like that. And I always wonder, and I always ask this question: why weren't there the African leaders, the chiefs, and all those persons jumping on their boat and say, "Let's go and get our people. Let's go and fight and capture our people back"? Could it be that they couldn't do that because they were culpable in the process? And today we have a situation now whereby we have persons from the African continent, which is supposed to be one of the richest continent, whereby Shell gets its oil from Nigeria. Sierra Leone and these countries get their wealth, their diamonds, and they got these little boys getting these little things and paying pittance, and yet they're coming to Europe. Why is Africa, the continent, not doing much to keep people there? It's sad, man.
It's very sad. It's you see, again, the Bible talks about it. I mean, the Lord says that,
Yes.
nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom.
Mm.
I mean, famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. There are things happening in our world. There's a spirit behind it. There is something behind it that is causing mankind, more or less, to turn in on itself and to destroy and to kill each other. And sometimes for little and nothing, sometimes for nothing at all.
Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes the reasons sometimes you have to sit down and say, is that you kill him for? And I mean, no. It's the things that's happening in our world still. It's
Yes. Yeah.
not good at all, my brother. It's not good. It's not.
So what would we say then is the key ammunition, motivating factor, inspirational factor that people can take, because people are going to see these things regular. It is like when you go to your church or the preacher brings his flock in on a Sunday, people are coming in with all sort of things over the weekend, right? And they're coming into church on a Sunday and they want to leave with a word or something that will inspire them. Or when a motivational person like me is speaking on walking and talking in the morning, people are sometimes listening, hopefully that a word will come out of my mouth. And sometimes words come out of my mouth that I say, I got to go and listen to it again. I said, wow, where did that come from? I need to go and watch that, man. I need to go and watch my video again. What is it that you will say to people? What's the word that you say to people? What drives you to what is even if you don't have the word, but what is it that compelled you amidst life's drama, life's trauma, the traumatizing which is happening in this world? What constrained you to find that word for someone?
That in and of itself, it's my brother. That's a question that within, if I can say 2 minutes, because you're going to be looking to close down in 2 minutes. I can't. You can't really address. But there's a lot of people out there, and a lot of people who listen to you and follow you, Sylbourne.
Yeah.
And I would also say there's a lot of them who do not. They don't go to church, and you don't need to go to church to have a relationship with God, mind you. But they don't go to church, and some do not believe in God. Or there's a great big God out there, and anybody, you can go to Buddha, or you can go to the Muslim, or you can go to the Baha'i, or you can, and it's the same God, but it's not really the same God. But
Yeah.
but what one has to do, the greatest advert that, let's say, I could ever be to anybody is not what I say, which is a lot. It does bring value. But the greatest advert that anybody as a Christian could ever do to convince somebody next to you or across the road or next or your work colleague is the way how we live, is my life. My life. Because there are many Christians out there that we all know, and you the viewers, you know them. They have a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about them. There's a lot of gestation and acting, but their life does not match to what they say and preach, and bring away a lot of people because they're saying that Graham says one thing but does another. And if I'm going to convince Anybody at all, anybody, even if it's half a person, if I'm going to convince them, they've got to look at my life. I have to live so that they can say to me, Graham, how are you coping? How do you cope? What's causing you to always have a smile on your face? What is it
Yeah.
that you're doing to cope with the with the cost of living, with the bills that you need to pay, with the lifestyle that you have to maintain and everything? How do you keep that smile on your face? And by the very moment, or by a very question at that moment, still, that is when I can tell somebody about the God that I serve, because really He does help me. He does help me to cope with life.
And so that's the opening factor. That's the opening that one has to look for, the lifestyle that one lives, and how, and again, as persons will say, Gary, a lot of persons use the principles of God, but they're not talking about God. They use the principles, the godly principles, because there's one of those principles which work, which is the rain fall on the just and the unjust.
Right.
You to say people are blessed and they can bless others, and yet they're not talking about God. You know what I mean? And you say, oh, that guy, he's always helping people. You know, he's always giving people food, and you've never seen him in church. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So it is a lifestyle that people have. Michelle is actually saying, you all think we see nothing yet? This is the only beginning. You know, she's talking about what is that, you know,
Yes.
and but what is happening in the but it is happening in the house of the Lord, you know, and it is happening in a place that you wouldn't think it would be happening, which is the point which you raised there, Gary. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I just felt like we will come each week, and when people listen to news sometimes, and I think that's why the end of news they always show something happy, something funny, or something bubbly, or the weather, or so to take the pressure off, because the the reality out there in the world is that, as Michelle says, things are not looking great.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So therefore hope has got to be channeled,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Hopelessness, we got to get away the lessness and get the fullness.
True. True. I mean, if
Yeah.
you see, even the producers of the news, or the producers of documentaries, if they don't think in the minds of the people that's watching on a more palatable note, then everybody to some extent is going to feel down, because they think that's really what's going on out there. So, as you said, they say, "Oh, are we having sunshine tomorrow, Bob? Or what's the outlook of the weather, Bob? Is it 40 degrees out there?" And if they say, "Man, next week we're gonna have great sunshine, we're gonna have a heat wave," everybody's happy. Everybody's looking towards that. You know
Yeah, everybody's looking towards going to the beach, going towards
exactly.
Brighton or so like that, or flying out. Yeah.
They have managed to take to turn their minds of what's happening on the street, the
Yes.
muggings, the death, the hunger, the child and the children that's being mugged,
Kidnapped and abused. Yeah.
or kidnapped or so. So they've met. But the reality still is not good. The reality, and we've got to some extent, tell the population. You've got to tell the population that the realities of life, it's horrible and it's going to get worse. But there is hope. There is hope. And I think that is what, let us say, the Church of England is out there to do. That is why the Pentecostal and the evangelical churches, the independent worship centers and such, that's their job to tell them that the realities of life is not good, but yet there is hope
Mm.
in Christ. And it's got to be
Yes.
told.
Yes.
That has to be told.
Yes. Well. On that note, I'm going to leave with Angela Rayner, the next leader of the party, and she's giving Dominic Raab, the next leader of the Conservative Party. Sylbourne, what are you saying? Yeah, the recent thing with the the minister, in Jamaica, Kamina Johnson Smith, who ran recently, and she lost against Barnes Scotland, won the election to continue to be the Secretary General. And a lot of people are now actually saying that they wanted to speak about it before, but they didn't want to speak about it because they didn't want to ruffle the bed while she's actually running the competition. And I say we got to move away from those sort of thinking. And that's why I've always been very critical from day one to say that while I wish her the best, but I just think it was a wrong. Remember, I kept saying I think it was a wrong move. I don't think this is the right time. If you're going to move away from the king, from the queen and king and country, and yet at the same time get involved again, it doesn't make sense. And many people are actually saying that they didn't say anything, but now they're all talking, and it's like it just doesn't make sense. A bit hypocritical. But anyway, Dominic Raab and I'm predicting that Angela Rayner will be the leader of the Labour Party, all being well. She'd the one that bring things back. Any last word, Gary, before we go?
Well, it's been a very sober meeting tonight. I think very sober and thought provoking. Not so much. We haven't had a lot of comments left as in the previous Thursday evening. But I think a lot of questions, it would indicate to me that a lot of questions are being asked of your listeners personally to themselves, if at all. I can't read the minds out there, but I think that there are some questions that we must ask of ourselves because only we ourselves can answer the questions of our own lives. And, we've got to be very mindful that whatever is happening in our world, whatever is happening in our cities, in our communities, in our neighborhoods, and let us bring it down to our own families. We must understand that there is something behind all what is taking place, generating and not to be controlled by men, because men are trying to control the narrative, but man cannot control a certain part of this narrative. We can only but rely and look to the one who can, and I think that we need to really turn to the Lord in some respects.
Well, there's a beautiful song that my mother used to love to sing when I was growing up in Jamaica, and it's always "Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look into His face." Yeah. You see, the whole thing about it. I think as people, one has got to be unapologetic of what you believe in, and that is something I have my confidence in, whereby I don't shy away from my faith, because those who have their agenda do not shy away from it, Gary.
No, they don't.
They come out and they say what they're about, and they make it very clear.
Exactly.
And I don't know why people sometimes we want to hold back from our convictions, the things that we believe in, and what we stand up for, what we were brought up in. As I would say, our brought-upsy. Why do we do that? Why do we hold back from what we believe in, Gary, when others are just pushing what they believe in?
Yes, true. Yes, so true. So true.
And we can do it with poise. We can do it with passion. We don't have to be. We're intelligent people that can articulate our point. I always say that we can articulate our point very clearly, without doubt.
Yes.
Let
me say, before you move on to your clip there, I'm gonna say hi to my fan clubs members, which is Michelle and Deanne, and even Michelle is an avid listener to my little podcast every day. I see a little thumbs up, so she's
and
really
Noreen Hunt as well. Noreen Hunt.
Yes, yes, Noreen. Yes, she does. I must thank her. I must thank her for supporting me on that. And Michelle, I know Deanne. Every now and again she does, but Michelle is my first member of my global church. So that's good. I've got one member in my global church. So
Gary, it starts with, let's say, it starts with one.
yes,
It could be you.
you.
You know what I mean? Let me play this. Let me play this, ladies and gentlemen. While I'm playing this, I'm playing out with this video because I was very intrigued by Angela Rayner, who is the deputy leader for the opposition party, and Dominic Raab, who is the deputy prime minister. And I saw them as two new leaders for the UK, and I think it's exciting days ahead as well. So I'll just play this a bit. Yeah. Okay.
On the armed forces is rising to 2.3% of GDP.
Again, making us
Cooker. No more waiting for the kettle to boil. No more waiting for a pan of water to boil. With a cooker in your home, you always have instant 100 degrees boiling water on demand. Did you know it's very easy to order a cooker online? Just visit cooker.co.uk and see how simple it is.
It's just like you're advertising with something else.
Talking about now, where was the Honourable in the situation in Afghanistan on a sun lounger? That's where the Honourable member was. I take no lectures from the Honourable member when it comes to doing your job. The Prime Minister said he felt no shame over the by-election defeats. He said his government have been quite exceptional. Well, I agree that they've been exceptional, all right. An exceptional record on stagnant wages, rising poverty and broken promises. And the Prime Minister wants to drag this out until 2030s. And how much more can he stomach before he finds the guts, Mr. Speaker? How many more tax rises? How many more families drove into poverty? And how many manifesto pledges broken? I hope for the sake of the British public, Mr. Speaker, that we never find out. And when will the Deputy Prime Minister finally grow a backbone and tell the Prime Minister the game is up?
Mr. Speaker, I can't help thinking that Right Honourable Lady is auditioning for the leadership contest on that side, not really referring to anything on this side. She's got the support of the Honourable Member. Look, I'll tell you what we're doing. We're putting in place the policies to grow our economy, to help...
Mr Murray, we've had a good questions already for Scotland. It's not continued. It's not your debate. Come on.
Mr. Speaker, he was just announcing his support for the Right Honourable Lady in the forthcoming... We're putting in places the economic plan to help people with the cost of living. The Labour leader is getting ready for year zero. We're the ones supporting Ukraine with sanctions on Russia, with military support. The Honourable Lady voted to abolish Trident. We're the ones making the streets safer, more police and tougher sentencing under the Police Crime Sentencing Act in force this week. She voted against both. They got no plan. They're not fit to govern, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.